My belief is that schools may be one of the most destructive forces in our society. I don't know if there is anything in our society that harms this many children so frequently. I got that concept from my mother, who for years has said, this is rotten at its core. I love these kids. I'm committed to their well-being, but the system is broken. And so I heard that from her for years and years. And then as I've gotten deeper into education, I've seen that firsthand, that the system is designed to maintain the status quo, not to uplift humans. And so that's where I find myself now, is trying to find ways to fix that. Confluence, if anything, pushes each of our students out of that place that they've been comfortable in into kind of a new understanding of who they are and how they can engage with the world.
The students that I've been working with, like, they're having a hard time just wanting to connect to class. Like, they understand that their grades are dropping, but that physical connection isn't there anymore, and they don't feel the urge to want to go to school. So it has impacted the Latino students in a negative way. And then also with going back to equity, right? A lot of the Latino students live in households that may be bigger than just one family, may be very loud at the household. Maybe a lot of people are sharing the same network, same Wi-Fi. So there were just a lot of barriers for Latino students to connect. So I also want to highlight that it wasn't just a matter of students, Latino students, not wanting to go to school or to sign on. It was also that they simply weren't able to do so in a way that they could fully focus on their education. We're starting to see that, once again, all the talk that we were doing about equity in education, we saw that really wasn't true during that pandemic, right? A lot of the layers started getting peeled off, and we were realizing, oh, we're in big trouble because we weren't prioritizing equity this whole time.
Education should be defined as something inspiring, you know? Like, everybody's inspired by something different, but education should be something that you would want to do, you know? Like, some kids don't want to go to college, and that's completely okay. You don't have to go to college if you don't want to, but some kids don't want to go to college because it just seems so much to them, you know? It seems like they just got out of school just to go back into school and be thrusted into classes and have overpiling of homework. Or some people go to college just to party because that's what they think college is.
You know, that saying of it takes a village, it's so true. You know, it's just like, you think of all the people that come into the contact of a child's life. They all have the ability to help them, right? And sometimes they have the ability, sadly, to hurt them when it comes to them being successful academically. And so it doesn't just fall on the teachers, it doesn't just fall on the parents, it doesn't just fall on administration, it falls on all of us. I mean, really, you know, it's profound how much we all need to be involved in our children's lives so that they could really get to where they want to be. The people that are in education, they're not here to make money, they're not here to get thank yous, they're here because they actually care. And sometimes that may get lost in stress, but the true essence of a teacher is they got into it because they care.
I feel like if homework is bringing families to tears, that's a problem, and that's been something that has been significant in our household, and I know I'm not alone in this. There's way too much homework, and you know, they're there 8 hours a day, and by the time parents get home from work and feed their kids, and you know, if you have an extracurricular activity, it leaves no time for kids to rest. Kids are not getting enough sleep. Any, you know, pediatrician or, you know, research will tell you, especially once they get to the second growth spurt with puberty, kids need 10 to 12 hours of sleep a night. Most children are walking around totally and completely sleep deprived.
The pros to homeschooling is you choose what you're going to study for for the most part. Most of the programs that we deal with have flexible curriculum. So that drives the student's interest and makes the educational experience, in my opinion, much better. And that leads to the student wanting to take more chances. It leads to the student living a more fulfilled life and giving more meaning to their experience.
I've been lucky to be able to navigate the system just because of my personality and who I am, and never stopping or giving up. But had I not been me, right? Had I not had the tenacity to keep going and keep finding better, finding the right next fit or the right next thing for my family, we wouldn't have ever gotten what we needed. There's no book on how to navigate that. Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to, nobody knows. Nobody wants to talk about it. It's not something that's addressed. And I've had to figure out a lot of it on my own.
Greatest advice, I believe, is to really assess the population that you're serving, to understand where their gaps are, to understand what needs they have. Take time to pool those resources together so those students and their families, because a lot of times if the families have gaps in their needs, that rolls down to the student. And so finding out what those things are, finding the best way to serve, listening, getting rid of, this is probably bad for me to say, but getting rid of stupid standardized testing, especially in this time right now, would be really beneficial to students. Maybe being a little bit more open-minded about how learning is happening, and being creative in project-based learning and being creative in those types of ways. And being really flexible. I think the key is about flexibility and responding in a way where you know that it's kind of like a living, breathing, you have to be adaptable and change with what needs to be changed. And that can happen, those changes can happen instantaneously. So I think that's my advice.
If we had more supports earlier in schools and they were being taught things like mindfulness and healthy communication skills and healthy relationship skills, if social emotional learning were written in everywhere, if teachers were in their credentialing programs getting this stuff, there is no, to my knowledge, and maybe this has changed recently, but they don't get any mental health education while they're getting their credentials. And so you're standing up in front of a room of, let's say, 37 high school students, and you're trying to share information, and they're all in different states of emotional and mental well-being and learning styles and life experiences, um, safety at home, not safety at home, food in their stomach, no food in their stomach, so many different variables. And if you're not thinking of the psychological component to that, and it's just focused on how do I give my subject, there's a layer missing. And a lot of teachers naturally are just so compassionate. They have some of that mental health stuff, they do, but I think they deserve more support. A lot of times I would get students that were so frustrated with school and felt like it wasn't relevant and felt like they were spinning their wheels, and they didn't, it was so hard to be motivated because it wasn't meaningful. And so we would talk about what would make it meaningful, and it needed to look more like them.